My love for parks really started out when I was a kid. I used to go on road trips with my dad when I was, between the ages of about 10 and 14. And we would jump in our camper and we'd go all over the country, just the two of us. And he would take me to parks, to historic sites, to remote wilderness areas. And it really developed a love of history and parks and exploration. I was very fortunate that my first park job was as a park ranger at Mesa Verde, which was the place that really sparked my interest in archaeology. And I got the chance to go back there and work as a park ranger, doing education and helping connect people to a place that had been really moving to me. And over the course of my career, I got to work with wildlife biologists, fire ecologists, park rangers, and people who do such amazing work in the support of parks. And what it made me realize is that the magic of a park is that all of these things come together as one and give us an opportunity to connect with a sense of place. And I think that's what I love the most. And that made me really want to get more involved in natural resources management and be able to think about how we manage parks as a whole. How do we maximize access and the opportunity for people to connect with these places while also making sure that we're protecting what's most important about them. Denver Mountain Parks has been around since 1912, which makes it even 4 years older than the National Park Service. Genesee Park was created in 1914. It was the earliest park in the mountain park system and was initially designed as a drive-through wildlife park. So it was designed to have bison, elk, and bighorn sheep. And many people will probably remember seeing elk here. We no longer keep elk, but we still have our bison herd. This bison herd was created in partnership with Denver Zoo. The herd was established with animals that were kept at City Park and with animals from what's now the National Bison Range. And we've maintained them as a conservation herd since then. A lot of people ask me about the differences between cattle and bison, thinking that they're very similar and just look a little bit different and have different horns. That's actually not true at all. Bison and cattle are very different. Bison are wildlife. They're wild animals. They've never been domesticated. Bison are a critical part of this local ecosystem of the Americas, and they're considered a keystone species, which means that their presence is critical for a functional ecosystem and for the survival and health of other species around them. When bison were removed from the landscape, it created an ecological collapse. When you reintroduce bison to the landscape, it brings it back to life. One of my favorite little companion species with bison is a little rainbow scarab dung beetle. Now their job is to go into the dung and they take little bits of it and they burrow down around the edges of the dung and they line their burrows with the dung, and they use that for laying their eggs and for mating. And that's the function that these little dung beetles provided, was to aerate the entire prairie. And so when those disappeared, it made it much harder for water to permeate down into the roots and those long prairie grasses. And that's one of the reasons why we really struggle with drying up springs and losing some of our groundwater, is because of the loss of bison and even these little dung beetles. When you reintroduce bison back onto the landscape, they do so many things. Their hooves help push native seeds into the ground and help retain a little pocket of water that helps them germinate. They create wallows in the ground as well. If you've ever seen a bison rolling around and dusting, they're trying to get the bugs off, and it's part of their natural instinct. But what it does is it creates these little ephemeral pools for birds, for coyotes and foxes, rabbits, amphibians, all kinds of wildlife that are out on the plains. One of the things that we really want to help communicate to people is that the bison were targeted for removal from the landscape. And that was done intentionally to control native peoples who depended on them for their mental health, for their well-being, for their lifestyle. And so being able to come here and learn more about bison and being able to connect with them, I think really opens doors to better understand our human history and also our ecosystem and what we need to do to help restore some of that ecological balance, not just here in Genesee and in the Denver Mountain Parks, but across our landscapes. I think the rewards of this work have been so far really strongly related to the Bison Donation Program, and it's been an amazing experience to watch these bison go home every year. We raise them here as a conservation herd. They're a genetically significant herd as well, and so to the extent that we can help support genetic diversity in the bison population for tribal herds is important. There are tribes across the nation that are trying to rebuild their herds, that are trying to demonstrate their own sovereignty, and that are asking us and expecting us rightfully to acknowledge that, to acknowledge their role their history, their presence on the landscape, and their contemporary place in working with us. Changing the language we use around what we do, I think, is really important. So this is Genesee Park, and we manage a conservation herd. We're not a ranch, and we're not cowboys. When we handle our animals, we consider this a handling facility, not just corrals. So we're really trying to change that mindset of not just what we do, but I think it really speaks to why we're trying to do it.
Stay elevated by subscribing to the city's YouTube page for these stories and more. And stay tuned to our social media channels for more content. Don't miss our new episodes of Elevating Denver, premiering each month. Thanks for watching, Denver.